Hello, my name is Tendai Manombo, and this is Real Talk. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and please remember to like and subscribe so that you can get notifications on every new episode for Real Talk and Info, your weekly news in 4 minutes. Today on Real Talk, we have a special guest with us, the Gweru Urban Member of Parliament, Honorable Brian Dube. He is here in his capacity as the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament. We will be discussing issues to do with corruption in the government around billion-dollar projects such as Command Agriculture. Honorable Brian Dube studied law at the University of Zimbabwe. He is a holder of a Master's in International Criminal Justice with the Open University of Tanzania and is currently studying his PhD with UNISA. He's an award-winning human rights lawyer and a partner at Gundu, Dube and Pamcheche Legal Practitioners. Okay, welcome to our show, Honorable Dube.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for your time. We know you're a very busy man. We just have a few questions for you in your capacity as the chairman of the PAC. And I just want to start with this one here. It's very obvious. It's very straight to the point. The Public Accounts Committee recently tabled a report on Command Agriculture.
Yes, I can confirm that I personally moved that motion and tabled it.
It was very detailed. Thank you so much for that. The report unearthed gross misappropriations of fund, including preferential exchange rates given by the RBZ to Sakunda and politicized spending, among other irregularities. What are some of the key issues that you highlighted in the report?
The key issues firstly relates to the non-tender. The people who were given jobs by the government did not go through tender, but were actually specifically invited and given the job. That's the first challenge. The second challenge relates to direct payments. You would note that the Ministry of Agriculture was the one who was supposed to be engaging with these people and making sure that the payments are done in terms of the procedure. It was not necessarily done that way. RBZ was paying directly.
This is relating to the Command Agriculture.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Then the third main challenge is actually lack of transparency and accountability in the whole process, in the sense that some of the equipment and the materials that were purchased were supposed to benefit through GMB, but GMB seemed not to be aware of some issues. The Ministry of Agriculture was also not aware of issues, and so there were no specific answers. So the main challenge that we have there is just a serious violation of the Public Finance Management Act as well as the procurement laws and regulations in the country.
Okay, so now that those have been unearthed, those issues have been highlighted, what's the next step?
Thank you very much. The next step is actually we are preparing to close our debate in the House. Okay. As a majority of MPs have already debated and aired their views. After that, I'm happy to also announce that the Ministry of Finance has actually communicated to me that they are prepared for the first time to also, then after the closure of the debates, to put in what they call the Treasury Minutes, explaining how they intend to rectify, recover loss, as well as cure this from happening again. So that is supposed to be what happens. Then relating to specific recommendations, we may wait for specific actions relating to unjustified enrichments, if any, as well as recovery of any other loss that may be recoverable from any stakeholders.
Do you know when we can expect to hear from the Ministry of Finance regarding this issue?
Yes. From our communication, actually, as we get out of break, possibly between the 3rd and the 6th of May.
That's very soon.
If anything goes well, yes. If everything goes well, we are supposed to have the Treasury Minutes tabled by the Minister between Tuesday and Thursday this coming week.
Okay, so that's at procedural level. When will it be accessible for the general public?
As soon as it is tabled, because it will be in form of it will be in a Hansard. Okay. So the procedure is, if I stand up to close the debate, then the minister stands up to respond and table the treasury minutes, indicating that indeed we saw the report, we take seriously the recommendations that were made by the parliament and members, and this is how we are going to work on it. Then they give us a roadmap, and some of the things are specific because the parliament was also recommending specific things to be done within specific time frames, especially relating to those things that need to be delivered or that needs to be verified.
Oh, okay. All right, that's great. So beyond publication, what will the parliament do?
The parliament has already done its work. That's what is called oversight. Oversight means getting to know what the executive has done and giving your
And reporting
views.
and giving recommendations.
Yeah, and I'm happy that for the first time since I got in Parliament, Public Accounts Committee has actually tabled 5 reports now from 2021 to now, when it had tabled 0 from 2018 to 2021.
Oh, wow.
So we're actually doing our job. Our job is to oversight, and oversight means telling the other arm of the government where they are doing things wrongly and telling them how to correct that. And now the executive will deal with that. If there are any criminal element coming therein, then the prosecuting authority and ZAC may chip in terms of the recommendations, and then the judiciary will do the trial processes.
All right.
So for Parliament, I always hear people saying, apart from reporting, what else will you do? That is our role. Our role is to make those reports, because you must understand we're a constitutional democracy. There is separation of powers. The implementation of government policies and budgets is done by the executive. The oversight and monitoring is done
by the House.
By the House. Yeah. Then if there are any disputes relating to those issues, they are then settled by the judiciary.
Yeah.
So that is our role, exactly what we are doing.
And you've done a very good job. 5 reports is no joke.
5 reports.
You have really been working quite hard.
In 1 year.
No, well done. Well done on that. How does the Parliament seek to collaborate with other oversight institutions like ZAC?
Thank you very much. We have actually, through the Parliament administration, managed to improvise and made sure that certain things are already happening. For example, our ZAC is now also invited to be part of our hearings as an observer in the processes, such that when we're doing our work and they already see some things that relate to their assignments, they can actually act immediately. And it has already started to happen. I can tell you that after disbanding PAC into 3 subcommittees, ZAC has also been involved, where they sit in and we allow them, we actually invite them to come and observe as we do our work, and they act. And I can tell you that in terms of some local authority issues, as well as some scenario issues, because of that setup, they've already managed to act. But the main challenge that we have is usually in terms of evidence gathering, because the same conflicted people are the ones who have the information.
Right.
So that I have seen people saying toothless and stuff, but at times the challenge relates to the accounting officers with all the documentation that you may need for court are the ones that are your suspects, and at times the information is actually hidden and stuff, so it takes longer than expected. But I can tell you that we have done so, and obviously for our Auditor General, they are a permanent witness in PAC, and they are always with us and actually advising, especially on the technical side. We have also robbed in the Accountant General's office for purposes of making sure that there is compliance in government. So the recommendations and our issues, the Accountant General also now sits with us so that they see those ministries and government departments that are not complying with actually the accounting standards. Because mainly our challenge is on the accounting standards, where some of the things may have been done properly, but there is no trail to know what has happened, because some people are still using those old ledgers and stuff. Yes. Yeah. So the Accountant General is also now part of PAC as a permanent witness, and we make sure that if there are recommendations relating to the accounting procedures, they already start to implement.
Okay. So what you're saying is you've created a system where you're bouncing off each other. It's now a chain and you need each other. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Yes, we have realized that on our own we cannot do everything. We need the other arms to be collaborating with.
After all, you are reporting on the same issues,
And our
basically.
interests are the same.
Yes. Okay, well, that's very good to know. I just want you to go back to the 3 committees that you spoke about. PAC has been broken down into 3 committees. Can you please unpack that?
Thank you. We have 3 subcommittees under PAC. We have the ministry accounts, which deals with the appropriation accounts from the various ministries and the oversight specifically that. And when the Auditor General's reports come, specifically they will look into that. And we also then have the one dealing with parastatals, which relates to all government business entities. When everything arises which relates to that subcommittee will deal with it. Then we have the one dealing with local authorities. That one will always be oversighting on the activities of local authorities and possibly the provincial councils in the event that they get established. The advantage being actually in one meeting, you are already dealing with 3 different issues, and it assists us to do our work faster. We have realized that we're lagging behind because we're doing things together. We are 30 in one meeting and it is not effective. But if you are 30 and you divide yourself into 10, and each 10 dealing with specific issues,
right,
you are already likely to cover more. And it has actually worked well because we actually have now, I think, 7 or so reports already are waiting to be tabled. They are actually within the process of Parliament.
Okay. What are these reports on, if you're at liberty to say?
They relate to the same issues on accounting, the same issues on misappropriations from ministries, from local authorities, as well as from parastatals. But now we'll be, because the subcommittee does its investigations and verifications, then it tables a draft report to the whole committee. Then if we agree, then that report goes through for purposes of administrative verifications and tabled. So I can tell you we have about so many reports. We have reports relating to non-compliance. We have ministries, parastatals, and local authorities who are not complying at all. They are not submitting their accounting statements. They are making the job of the auditor very difficult because they have nothing. So we have specifically reports on that. Then we have reports for those who are in partial compliance. They do partly, but they avoid doing other things, and they have specific reports and recommendations there on what to do with them. Then we have the third report relating to those that are complying with accounting procedures, but also possibly not then doing the other, because it's one thing to actually submit your accounts and it's the other to submit accounts having done the correct thing. So some submit their things where you then realize that there is misappropriation of resources and stuff. So we have categorized into 3. Those completely not doing anything, those partially doing, and those that are in compliance.
Okay, so you said the 3 committees are the ministerial, the parastatals, and the local governance, right? I just want to zone in a little bit on the local governance side. You know, the issue that's really, really hot right now, the issue of land barons. And it's been raining, and areas like Chitungwiza have had floods left, right, and center, and people have been displaced because of the land that they bought from the land barons. What do you have to say about that? Because that's endangering. People's lives have been endangered because of things like that.
Without preempting the report, what I can tell you is we have recommended a lot, including arrests of some individuals, because we note that there is conspiracy.
Yes.
Land barons cannot actually dish out land.
They can't work on themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, on their
dish
own.
out land that was given to them by the local authorities.
Yeah.
And also at times the ministry is involved. Some principal officers in the ministries are also involved. Because at times when you ask these local authorities, why did you do this? They may tell you that a phone call came or a directive was issued and stuff. So we want to deal with this thing once and for all. and also make sure that there is autonomy within the local authorities so that they are able to answer for everything. Currently, they can't. Some things they tell you, ask the PEMSEC, ask the director of planning, ask so and so, because they get a lot of directives, and we recommend that actually the Urban Councils Act be amended to allow for more powers to councillors, so that if you give them more power, more responsibility, which means they can now also answer more.
Okay.
Currently, they can't answer more because a lot of things they will tell you it's the minister, it's so and so. So we are making such recommendations to say no. Let's make sure that our laws are such that a person who is supposed to answer is the one who has actually been doing the work.
Okay.
You can't have the PEMSEC or the minister directly operating local authorities but not answering.
All right, yeah. I'm interested to know what your comment is on the building and demolishing. Since we're talking about land barons, just touching on it.
Yeah, building and demolishing, it's on the face of it a serious violation of human rights, because human beings have a right to shelter, and Zimbabweans have a right to shelter. And it is very bad, actually, for government to be watching whilst the buildings are being done and only to demolish when people are already staying there, instead of actually having prohibition orders before. If you see or suspect that some people are likely to be doing something at a particular place that you believe is not lawful, stop them instead of actually waiting for them to be inside there with their children and start demolishing. So our view as a committee is that we actually need a proactive government system which actually follows even the plans. The main challenge that we have is we do not have a proper urban expansion planning mechanisms.
Okay.
So, and also we have this challenge of rural district councils and urban councils relating to peri-urban land. For example, because they know
that's quite a contentious topic.
Yeah, they know that actually it is easier to build under a rural district council because the requirements and the engineering expectations are less. So a majority of these land developers are developing using plans at the rural district councils. Then the challenge only comes when they now need other services like water and sewer connections, which can only be provided by an urban settlement. And at times, the government then gives directives. And even the Urban Councils Act itself then says a council becomes responsible if there is anyone who is staying closer to council and is likely to give healthy challenges and risks to the urban settlement, to make sure that they provide water and sewer. So these people are now taking advantage of that. And what we are saying is it's a serious nightmare, but it is arising as a result of the ministry also failing to properly manage and supervise the settlement expansions around.
Okay, I understand. Well, thank you so much for explaining that. We'll just take a very short break and we'll just continue our interview.
All right, thank you.
Welcome back to our second segment, and we'll just get right into it. This is not the first time, Honorable, that Zimbabweans have received such damning reports, yet nothing is done to ensure fiscal justice. I'm sure you can confirm that.
I can confirm that a lot of reports have happened, but to say absolutely nothing has been done, it's not 100% correct. Not much has been done. Not absolutely nothing has been done. Because you would know that after our Zinara reports, arrests were made, and actually the processes of recoveries are underway, and actually it's a positive on us.
Yes, it's a positive on you, but then are you saying Zimbabweans must accept the bare minimum?
No, I'm not saying they must accept the bare minimum. I'm saying something is being done, but a lot
more needs to be done.
Yeah,
and I think quite quickly too, because The injustices are gross. And for us to do the reparations at a slow pace is not all right.
And actually, they are gross, and actually they affect people directly. Because every time you then go to a hospital and you don't find medication, it's also because of these things.
Exactly.
You are going home, you find a pothole in the road. It's exactly because of these things. You are hungry in your house. It's because someone has looted your agricultural fund.
Exactly. There's a direct correlation.
Yeah.
So given the strategic role of your committee, what will you do differently to ensure that we break the cycle of publishing reports and, letting them gather dust? They're not gathering dust, but like you said, very little is being done. What are you going to do differently?
We have already done things differently. For example, by making reports, was like I indicated.
But we've always received reports.
No, we have not. From Public Accounts Committee, I can confirm from 2018 up to
during the
2021,
era.
up to 2021, there was no single report that was tabled in the House. So,
having reports is actually a win in itself. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's actually a positive step, because the reason why a lot of things are now under discussion is because they've been reported, and also a lot needs to be done. For example, now in terms of empowering the other institutions. For example, we have already started debates on the reforms to ZAC and National Prosecuting Authority to make sure that they are empowered to handle cases of this nature. Because these cases are complicated. We are dealing with the most powerful and most rich people, and the type of business that they do, which is corrupt, is complicated and sophisticated. And you need also to then have sophisticated manpower within those institutions. Yeah. So you can't just then say you take a matter before a prosecutor who has just been dealing with an assault matter in the last 2 minutes, then you give them a docket for corruption.
You're at risk of being outsmarted.
Yeah, you're at the risk of being outsmarted. So these are the challenges that we now need to deal with, even in terms of our budget, where we're now saying, how do we fund National Prosecuting Authority, more resources to them, and how do we specialize the unit? How do we even attract the most competent lawyers into that group? Because currently, it's more like the person who goes to National Prosecuting Authority is possibly a lawyer who is still coming from school, and they are waiting for an opportunity to live. And this is not what we want. We want a situation which is like in South Africa, where you actually have the most experienced and the most senior lawyers as the national prosecutors, and actually everyone else envies to be a national prosecutor. And you have seen those Zuma trials where you cannot tell the distinction between the advocate for the accused as well as the advocate for the state, because they're equally competent. But in Zimbabwe, this is the main challenge that we have, that even if we table those reports, and even if ZAC prepares together with the ZRP some dockets and they go for prosecution, our chances as a state of being outsmarted are very high because of those competence levels. And we have actually said those things can now only be cured through a budget and a deliberate process to empower.
So what you're saying is currently what we have is a situation where the people in office that are supposed to bring justice are generally intellectually simple. They're ill-prepared for this job.
One, they're simple.
They're incapacitated.
They're incapacitated and they are not motivated. Because it's a docket that is so serious that it may require you to even read out of work. But I do not see why an individual who is failing to have their ends meet, who is failing to have their meal in the house, would actually take a docket from the office or be in the office until 12, trying to scrutinize and mark things. Well,
so it's an issue of remuneration, really.
Yeah. Motivated by what? What can motivate your prosecutor to actually read through a thick docket of 60 pages relating to the corruption? Those are the questions that we must now be starting to answer ourselves before expecting so much from them. We must actually say, have we given them enough? Actually, they buy their laptops using their own money, and you want them to also
the machinery that they're using in office is personal.
Yeah, it's personal. The one who has not.
Well, then that's dangerous, because that's state information on personal gadgets.
Yeah. So those are the fundamentals now that we are saying need to be addressed. You then say, I can't use my personal data to download cases and research on particular case patterns from other jurisdictions and see how to handle a matter using your own resources. So these are the areas that we need actually to be attending to. Even in terms of the Auditor General, they would also indicate to you that the reports that we see, they take a lot of time than necessary because actually they share laptops. If you would note that we have already tabled another report relating to the state of the Auditor General's office, where they share laptops and computers in the office, and that's how they do business. And actually, they need to leave office by 3 to rush to the bus for the staff bus, which means they come to work using the staff bus of what do you call it? The Public Service Commission, which arrives in town maybe at 9. So they're starting work at 9 instead of 8. Then they leave at 3 instead of 4. So per day they are working
6 hours or less.
Yeah, 5 hours.
Oh, because there's also the lunch hour.
There's tea break and there is lunch. So they are working for 4 hours and it's not their problem. So those are the things that I'm saying we now need to address if we are committed as a country to fight.
Right, because I've always wondered why some of the things that get leaked into social media have no business being there if they're so classified. And this that you've just said really explains that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for that clarity. Citizens have lost confidence, to be honest. They have lost confidence in the House of Parliament and the capacity of Parliament to address public finance management issues, with some critiques, like you were saying, arguing that it is a captured institution and a toothless bulldog. What is your comment on that?
I would say it is because generally people want to target the softest and the easiest. So it's easier to insult and target Parliament and the MPs because they are relatively not the people that you are scared of. Yeah. And the real culprits they know, but they don't want to confront because they want the easier one. Okay. The real culprit who enforces and executes policies and your budget is the executive, the president and his ministers, and the CEOs in parastatals and in local authorities. Those are the people who are mishandling your resources, not members of Parliament.
Your job is to report.
Yeah. But because Zimbabweans also want to deal with those people that are easy, it's easy to just say, Dure, you are useless and toothless. Because I have actually told you that there was Command Agriculture Fund which was looted. I'm the one who is being attacked. Instead of people now saying, how do we also partner with our Parliament, get more of the information, what is it that is really there, and what is our role, how can we help escalate this issue? They're busy insulting this easier target. Instead of them and us, we represent you. So when we table that report, I'm tabling it on your behalf. So me and you are the ones who are now supposed to be confronting together the looter, like what they do in South Africa. As soon as that report is tabled, you would see every citizen is actually playing their role. Those who want to demonstrate and go to the offices of the purported thief, they march there to say, you thief, bring back our money. Mm-hmm. They go to so and so and say, you president, resign. You have, and we have actually seen the pressures on Zuma until he resigned. Did he resign because of Parliament? No. He resigned because the South Africans, after hearing the state captures and everything else, they acted. But here, people want to insult the easier target. And instead of collaborating with the Parliament, which has given you the information.
Okay, so how would you want this collaboration to go in the Zimbabwean context? What would you, if it were up to you, what would be your recommendation?
If it was up to me, actually, the point would be we would be having serious petitions from the citizens relating to specific ministries, actually challenging even the president to say, if you are not to resign yourself, at least fire so and so and so and so. For we have been told by our MPs through these committees that this person is useless. They don't even know how much was given.
The Auditor General as well has reported.
The Auditor General has reported, our Parliament has reported, and we now know this person is useless. The GMB guy does not even know the amount of grain that they have. Why do you need this person? That is the kind of collaboration that we need, as opposed to people saying because you have made a report you are useless. Yet the law is very clear. If I had the powers, I would go around and arrest everyone. But unfortunately, in terms of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, my role is to make that report and make recommendations. And I have no power.
That's as far as you can go.
Lawfully. In terms of the law, that's the furthest that I can go. Make a report and make recommendations. So I do not know if people expect now MPs to go beyond their mandate and start prosecuting people. If you give us those powers, if you want us to do so, you can amend the Constitution and say MPs don't only report, be the prosecutor or be the judge. If your Constitution says so, we can then say, all these thieves come here. You are now found guilty, 20 years, go to Chikurubi. But we don't have those powers. Our powers end where we exactly get to.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, having said that,
and if we were captured, we would not have actually given this information. You would note that personally, I don't know if there is anyone who is captured, but personally, I can speak for myself.
You're
I'm not captured by anyone, which is why even
and
when
you're
I
not
came,
a puppet. You can say that for sure.
I'm not a puppet of anyone, which is why when I came in, I actually had to make all the reports get to everyone, the whole world to know what is there. And I do not take it personal to say if I get information from the committee, I go to the media, I go to the forum that it is supposed to be taken to.
All right. So you take a lot of pride in your job.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in actually what I've done so far. And personally, I'm happy and satisfied even with the level of commitment that the committee members from my committee have done, even from across the political divide. If you check your answered, everyone is serious, everyone is saying things as they are.
You are right.
Yeah. So all we now need is to then say, how do we move forward as a nation with this kind of information? But it's not for us to be attacking each other, telling each other these ones are useless, these ones are not. It's about then saying, this is where we are. How do we move from here?
Yeah, there are political issues and state issues. So we have to separate those. So does Parliament see instances of corruption that you believe should be further investigated?
Yes, we do. And this is why even in our reports, we have actually made specific recommendations.
Please tell us about those specifics.
The specific recommendations would relate to all those situations where there is failure to explain for funds. To us, they then categorize it and flag it as possible theft or corruption. And we have said in our report, within 90 days, the ZAC and NPA must have acted something, and we need the relevant ministries to then report to us on the progress in terms of the cases in question. Because we cannot do the dockets ourselves. We can only make specific observations and make recommendations. So what we are doing is we give time frames. So we expect that if we close by May, possibly around June, July, we expect things to be done. Then by August, we must be told who has been convicted, who has been acquitted, and what is the way forward. How much have we recovered in terms of those areas where we have payments and non-deliveries? Have we got the deliveries or have we not? If not, what has happened? So
okay.
This is how we were actually doing things. We give specific timelines. Even if they have failed to do so, they must come and explain what were the reasons for failure.
All right. And you accept the reasons? Or
it depends, but not necessarily. We expect results. We don't expect excuses. Okay. This is why even the minister is actually undertaken to give the Treasury minute so that he can also explain to us already the targets relating to our reports, because we do not want excuses. We want people to do their jobs, and those who are not able, they should just do the noble things, resign, and we give opportunities to other people who can do the job.
Yes, the issue of accountability in Zimbabwe has been neglected over the years. And it's time now for people in office, for duty bearers to just come out and be transparent with state resources and how they're moving. So we're just going to take a very short break, and we'll be back to finish up the program.
Thank you.
with Honorable Brian Dube in his capacity as the chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. And we're just asking him questions to do with the recent report that was issued and other issues surrounding matters of lack of accountability, lack of transparency in Zimbabwe. So now, Honorable, what specific actions should Parliament and ZAC be taking in relation to the findings of your report?
Thank you very much. The first action that Parliament has to take is that it must adopt the report. That is the first action that Parliament must take. And in taking that report, it must make specific recommendations relating to timeframes for those actionable areas. Then the third thing that Parliament must then do is to make sure that the Treasury minutes are also presented by the Minister so that we get the attitude of the executive towards the specific findings and their action plan. That is mainly on the part of Parliament. Then for ZAC, action must be taken immediately without delay, taking into account that a lot of things may happen. I will tell you that in terms of the Zinara report, the challenge that we had is because of the delays in action, some of the directors actually ran away from the country and they could not be taken for interviews and possible prosecution. So when we are dealing with these things, we need to act fast. Actually, we should not even wait for the conclusion of the report. This is why I've indicated to you that we are now making ZAC also a witness within our processes so that some of the things they can action them quicker. So this is what ZAC must do. It must act quickly and make sure that those people most responsible are arrested and interviewed quickly and taken to court. While least we still have our memories fresh, you must remember that human beings have a lot in their minds. Yes. And at times, the more you delay processes, people may forget, people may get committed elsewhere and may go away. Yeah. Ordinarily, they can't wait for these processes only. They have a life to live. Yeah.
And death as well is a possibility.
It's a possibility. You may have your witness is dead, and that's the end of the matter. Yeah.
So from the Sentry reports and the PAC report, one that you issued, the names of these politically exposed persons are known. The names of the politically exposed people. Is your committee going to invite these people to appear before the Parliament for explanations?
What we did is actually they've already been called for explanations.
We are aware of Mr. Tagwire. He did come in.
Yes, they were called.
To answer for Sakunda. Who else came through?
All the representatives of companies that are involved in the Commander Greek report, he had the representatives to come and explain to the committee. All of them actually gave their side of the story. And this is where we then got this other information that people have not also been able to properly understand, that our main problem is not with these private actors. Our main problem is actually with the government. Because some of these guys are actually saying they were actually asked by the government to do the specific services, not that they actually solicited for work. And also, secondly, that's where we then see these issues relating to treasury bills being actually written off at the back to pay off two people instead of one from the RBZ. So actually, these people were very helpful in terms of giving us information, even relating to some of the payments given to them in RTGS in form of transfers. Yet at times it is reflecting in the reports as US dollars. Yeah. So
they were very key in putting the report together.
Yeah, because they also had to also defend themselves. You remember
because these are criminal offenses.
The unofficial reports had actually spoken about over 3 billion US and stuff. So these people were actually keen to come and explain themselves. But I never received the 3 billion. For me, I received 300 million.
And they had the paper trail to justify it.
Yeah, they had paper trails and receipts. And it was actually good for us. The majority of them were very cooperative. And what it then pointed out was a mess on the part of government. Where I can tell you that we did not have satisfactory explanations from RBZ, we did not have a satisfactory explanation from GMB, we did not have satisfactory explanation from Ministry of Agric. But from these private actors, like I told you, remember when we were talking about the competencies and issues, These guys, they brought in competent guys who were coming in, explaining their issues clearly and exonerating
the sector, but the state did not have that.
The state had just people were coming in and they looked confused, especially the GMB guys. That's where your problem is. With that GMB guy, even if you are to prosecute anyone and call them as a witness, your chances of having your case just dying as a result of incompetence or on the part of the guy giving you evidence is high.
No, that's not good enough. All right, so are there mechanisms in place to ensure compliance with the committee if politically exposed people refuse to, in the event that they refuse to come and present their cases to the House of Parliament?
Actually, there are provisions in terms of our standing orders. Firstly, we just invite through a letter. If someone decides not to come, then we issue summons. And if they don't come, we then do contempt proceedings. And someone may find themselves in serious trouble or even in jail for failure to obey these instructions to come and give
from the
evidence.
court. Mm-hmm.
But from where I stand, a majority of the guys always are keen to come and explain their side because they know possibly that they are smarter than the government guys. Mm-hmm. So everything will then fall on the government. You will see the private actors, when they come in, they just teach everything to the government. If I'm asked to come and I'm in business, if someone gives me a job to do and a business to do, I'll do it and make my money because I am there to make profit.
To make money, yes.
It is not my duty to ask someone, why have you asked me? For example, if someone wants to import seed or to import cars, and they come to me and say, are you able to supply us 30 cars? I will say yes. Then I supply and get my money. And I don't ask the person why you have called me because I do not need to represent my competitors. I represent my company. Yes. So these guys are always keen to come, unfortunately. And it is our government which is failing to explain why they involve them in their business. And some of them, they are involved in every ministry. You go to roads, you find them there. You go to agriculture, you find them there. You go to energy, you find them there. You go to ICT, supply of computers in schools, you also find them there. You go to Ministry of Transport or to CMED on purchases of government vehicles, you find them there. So this is the main challenge that we have. But these guys, they will just tell you that I will never refuse to do work when I get an opportunity because I'm there to make profit.
So the issues on the procurement side?
Yeah, the issues on the procurement. The person who is seeking service is the one who has an obligation to tender and do what. But the person who is
due diligence is not being observed.
Yeah, due diligence is not being observed because some of the people are actually, I will tell you that from the local authorities we have some vehicles which were purchased actually in individuals' names and you don't even know how it happened. And
that's a serious
crime.
But the
supplier would have already supplied.
Yeah. All right.
So it's up to then the government to then know why was this car purchased in the private person's name and not in the local authority's name.
Yeah, that's a criminal offense. So Zimbabwe has witnessed an increase in the abuse of public resources with impunity. We've seen this happen over and over again.
I will agree with you.
Is there any guarantee that the committee's proceedings will lead to arrests, persecution, and recovery of lost funds?
That is our intention, but like I indicated to you, there are serious fundamentals that Zimbabwe as a country is lacking. We need to prosecute these people where necessary, but like I told you, these are very technical processes and your chances of getting an acquittal are very high if you actually use the current competencies that we have. So this is our main challenge. Our main challenge is not with the judiciary. Our main challenge is with the capacities to actually properly investigate because it's a technical issue. What is corruption in terms of the law is a very technical issue as opposed to what you can say it in the media. So when you get there, you must really know the essential elements and what the person did and did not do. And lawyers will always come and hit you on technicalities, and like I indicated to you, our prosecutors are not motivated. They will just watch an application is made for discharge at the end of the state case. They they can't even respond. They don't have even the energy. I think
is it that they don't have the, okay, you have said you've witnessed that they don't have the energy, but is it that they don't have the energy, or they are not at all equipped by their own employer to perform their jobs?
They're not equipped.
We have spoken about
employer.
the private laptops coming in, but then dissemination of information from the employer, are they getting that? What are they lacking?
They're lacking everything. At times, competencies, because you need the refresher
courses,
even
yes,
for
workshops.
prosecutors, and strictly those dealing with corruption matters. It's a specialized area. You need even to call in experts or even hire some private people to come and do the prosecutions for you. So I can say there is lack in all the fundamentals that allow for serious prosecution of these cases. And I also not to rule out the elements of possibilities of corruption. Because the poorer you are, the higher the chances that you are gullible. For example, we are saying currently all of us in civil service are earning less than $150. All of us, your MPs, your prosecutors, possibly your magistrates, and
all these are
else.
people with families to feed.
Yeah, they have families to feed. And now you are talking of your commander Greek, where the values involved are 1.5 billion US dollars as the value of the whole matrix. And maybe per company, the issues are around 300 million or so, a minimum of 100 million. And do you know what is at stake? So these people are exposed, they are vulnerable, they are dealing with the rich guy, they don't even have money for lunch, and this guy, or rent for the month, and this guy may come in with... That's why you find even when we see those where you say prosecutors or magistrates or police officers have been bribed, you see the values, $20,
very
$30, a prosecutor so and so was given $30 at this place, and
it just speaks to the level of poverty.
It speaks to the level of poverty. So you cannot confront corruption if you are in serious poverty and there is no commitment by the government to empower its machinery.
So they're not getting empowered and they are ill-equipped to do their jobs. Okay, Honorable, I just want to touch on one final thing that you said about yourself, and we'll just visit that. You said when you were appointed chairperson, the task is huge, but I undertake to discharge it firmly and with honor and dignity.
Yes.
I will ask you to evaluate yourself so far.
So far, I would say it's up to the people to judge, but what I can confirm is I've given it all. I've dedicated all my time and have done what needs to be done. If you check even the quality of the reports, it can tell you that the person or the people involved are serious with their work. And as human beings, there's always room to improve, and we are amenable to continue to improve. But I can confirm that I personally have done what needs to be done with diligence and without fear, favor, affection, or ill will. I don't take things personally.
You're just here to do the job.
I actually do the job, and I possibly am kind of person who will never actually confront individuals at personal level. I will only deal with facts and content. Okay. That's me. I'm different from other people who may then want to go to the media, attack some individuals and stuff. I deal with issues as they are. And if an individual's name comes in as part of the matters in issue, their name will be mentioned as we go. That's why we have even mentioned the names. If you go into our reports, you would see we actually specifically say this guy did this one did this one did this. That's us. And I'm also very happy with the commitment from the team and also the support currently from the administration. For example, like I indicated to you, I went to explain to the speaker the need for separating the committee into 3 subcommittees after having checked the benchmarkings from other countries, and we were allowed to do that, which means now we meet twice a week as a committee, Monday and Friday, and it has also helped us to do a lot of work. So I will still stick to the fact that I'm committed to do the best, but it's up to people to judge, and at times I'm not worried much about how people can judge you, especially from the political side, because political activists have a different way. But I know and I'm sure that he still will judge us better. Because when people look at you, not now, but in posterity, they may see what you did and what you did not do.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020, as they say.
Yeah, and I believe that all we need to do is continue to give it our best, and we must strive to achieve, especially in terms of setting standards. For example, now we have actually tried to make the benchmarking standards for the reform of the Public Finance Management Act and take the regional standards and recommendations in it so that we can improve. So I can say we are trying our best, but in an environment that is very, 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 very disappointing, because we are dealing with also unmotivated people, and at times when we even do these interviews, we're dealing with stakeholders who have no capacity. Much of the interviews we now do online, and some of these guys will tell you that they are struggling to join in and stuff. Those are the challenges that we always face, and it's a struggle, and we hope that those who will take over after us will also take the issues to another level, because there is always a chance of another person doing things better than you. You can't be the best. You can only try your best, but you can't be the best. There's always someone else who can do things better than you, but that's the nature of life. People come and go, and they always improve from what you left.
The point is to simply get the job done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And thank you to our viewers for watching our episode today. The issue of accountability, lack of transparency at government level has really gone rife. Everyone is talking about it on social media. People want answers from the government, and it's just been highlighted that some of the people who've been trusted by the government to do certain jobs are incapacitated. They are not equipped for the job. They are not ready to do the jobs that they're required to perform. So these are issues that have been highlighted in the report that the Public Accounts Committee has given out. And there's a link down below if you want to have a look at this report. Thank you so much once again for joining us this week. Please join us once again next week.